Hello everyone, this is Leslie Pelch at the Vermont Center for Geographic Information. We're going to do a short video today about ways to download or connect with data and services at the Vermont Open Geodata Portal. If you're interested in learning more about how to find data, applications, and services at the portal, you can check out my previous video on that topic. So we're going to start out today by looking at town boundary data. So you notice that as soon as I start to type town into the keyword search, get a list of options popping up, choose town boundary. There are a number of different town boundary layers listed in my search results. The one that I'm interested in is the DT boundary-town polygon shared by open data_TGI. First thing I want to point out before we go any farther is that one of the reasons I know this is what I'm looking for, I know I'm looking for data to download, is that my thumbnail just to the right actually does say data in it. It also indicates that TGI is the origin of the data and the theme, the ISO that this data appears from, which is boundary. I also noticed that at the beginning of my descriptive paragraph here, we have a link to metadata, which can be very helpful. I'm going to wait a second before I click on that, just because you'll see there's actually two different ways that we can get metadata. So to learn more about this data layer, explore downloading it, and then click on the title. So here's the descriptive page for this particular data layer. Note that it's actually drawing the layer on the map. If you scroll down just a bit, we'll see that we start out by default overview section of this page. There are these three tabs just above the title of the data layer within the map that say Overview, Data, and API Explorer. Start by default in Overview. Once again, our title is here, our description just below it. The description, if we open it up a little bit, is fairly long. Or short. Description. We also have this link to metadata still right at the beginning of the description. So if I click on that, I'll get a very traditional, kind of old-fashioned view of the metadata. The convenient thing about this is we do have a table of contents that is HTML. And so I click on entity and attribute information, for instance. Go right to the section that will give more information of the attributes that are found in the data layer. So once you sort of train yourself what to look for, you look for the word attribute, and then just below that you see attribute label. So that's the name of the attribute. For some of the attributes, scroll down just a bit, like PNP type, we'll then see an enumerated list of domain values. We have state, county, town, and village as potential values attribute PNP type. That's what we'll find here now. Let's go back to our item page and notice that the other link to metadata is over in the right underneath About, which tells us the organization that is actually publishing this data on the portal, TGI. And then just a little bit below that, you'll see View Metadata. So this also is going to give us a link to the metadata. The same metadata for the most part. Slightly different format, but not very different. There's no table of contents at the top, so we can't link to a section. But we can scroll down, check out the metadata. All right, well, once again, return back to our page about the data. And the next thing that we are going to do is switch from the Overview tab to the Data tab. Once we're in the Data tab, we can look at the attribute data itself directly. And notice that there are 255 rows or features, each row being associated with a feature. And we're only seeing 1 through 10 of them. Scroll down a little bit. We can page through 10 features at a time. Attribute table. And note again, 255. There are 255 towns in Vermont. Particular definition of town. And when we're in the data viewer, we have a couple of different ways that we can actually filter this down to a smaller number of towns or features. Town. One way is to click on any of our attribute titles simple to the left. And we're indicating that we want to filter the data by attribute value, in this case count ENTY. And when I clicked on it table, it appeared up here to the right of me, showing 1 through 10 area. And I can now type in a value or a range of values in case because it's a numeric attribute. I'm just going to choose 1. So it's 1 to 1. When I hit the enter button, it is going to filter our data down to only the features that have that value 1 in the county attribute. Notice that up on the map, we also see that our data is filtered. And what we're seeing is Addison County. So only the towns from Addison County. Now that we have filtered the data, we will have the option to download the data either filter format, only a subset of the data, or the full data set. That's one of the nice things about this, that when we do the filter, we don't have to use the filter data. We can choose to go with either the filter or the full data. The other way that we can filter, I'm just going to remove this filter. I click rid of it. So now we've gotten rid of the filter, but notice that we still don't have 255 here again. And that's because on the map, we have zoomed in enough that we are limiting the number of features we can see on that map. And that is actually performing that same filter. In this case, it's a spatial filter. And we're only getting 59 of the 255 features now in our filtered version of the data. If we head over to the download option, we can see that we have full data set as an option, and we also have filtered data set. In each of these, we have 3 different formats: spreadsheet, KML, shapefile. Spreadsheet if you're just looking for a table of the attribute data. KML if you are looking for spatial data to be used with Google Earth or Google Maps, and shapefile, GIS software. And then the filtered data set with the same format option, which is going to be limited to the 50 features. The final option that you'll see for many of our data layers under additional resources when we open up the download folder is download prepackaged data. Notice that when I put my cursor over it, if you look in the far lower left corner of my screen, this is indicating that it's linked directly to a zip file that has this data in it, the boundary other being attached. So if for some reason there's something going on and the Esri servers aren't working right and you're having a hard time downloading, remember to look for this option if you need to. It's a good workaround if there are ever technical issues in the portal. As long as you're getting that data, download the full data. Just to the right of download data with API. API stands for Application Programmer Interface. And these are ways to access the data over the internet as a service. So rather than downloading the data onto your own computer, you would actually be live streaming it from a server located somewhere else. People use these services to do mashup, to bring together data from different sources over the internet, create a map that might be public-facing or internal use. You can also use them to bring data into your map project, desktop software. So in this case, if you were using ArcMap, like the GeoService version, and this has Control C to copy, you can also right-click and choose copy. The bottom option, the OGC WMS option is the version that you would use if you're working with open source software. OGC stands for Open Geospatial Consortium. GeoJSON is another option for open source software. Any of those, you can just right-click and copy and link to your project, or if you're a developer with mashup, access the API that way. All right, so we're going to go back to our page of our portal. And now we're going to talk about some of the other options you might encounter when you find data you're interested in and click on it to download. I'm going to jump parcels. And in particular, I'm looking for Vermont parcels from town parks. Notice that this layer has a little icon that looks like a square with an arrow on it that indicates that this is a document link or an external link. It's not going to take us to an information page within the portal. It's actually going to pop us out of the portal interface to a tiled data selection tool window. You can see that because this is parcel data, this data is tiled by town. So those different town, and if I click on a town, highlighted, I'll say click download, and I will be just downloading the parcel data for that one town. Get a closer look, make sure it's the right town. But I have two other options. I've brought into the tiled data selection tool. I can also bypass map and jump to web folder, or use the click and zip tool. Let's see what bypass map and jump to web folder looks like. If you've downloaded parcel data from the report, you've probably seen at least the tiled data download tool and the web folder. So this is a listing of all the parcel data that we have, conveniently naming convention, puts the name of the town in the middle, and it's listed alphabetically, so it's fairly easy to find the town that you're looking for if you know the name of it. It's also going to tell you the aim of that data, right? Name of the data layer. It's also fairly easy to figure out whether we have data, because if it's not listed here, we don't have to download it. We cannot add individual zip files for that town. The final option of click and zip is similar to the tile download tool, except that instead of clicking on the map and getting one town's worth of data, you actually get to define your area of interest. Notice that the first instruction over here on the right says data set must be visible before you can extract. Now you might look at this map and say, well, yep, there it is. That makes sense. That's my data layer. But that's actually just the index map showing what's available or where there's data available. What we actually have to see is the parcel data itself. So we have to zoom in quite a bit before we start to see that data. Once we actually see these pink lines, which are the parcels themselves, then we know we can download. We can also take advantage of the fact that, as I mentioned before, the click and zip option allows us to define our own area of interest, which means cross town boundaries. Here's a spot where towns are coming together, different town boundaries here, and define our area across those to get parcel data from multiple towns and not have to download the full data for each town. So notice that as soon as I click on this icon just below where it says define area to clip, my cursor now has this little prompt that says click to start drawing. So I am literally just going to do a little simple left click on the map, left click and then let go, and as soon as I move my cursor, I'm now drawing a line, waiting for me to click the next vertex. I click again. Now it reminds me that when I'm done, I've defined my area, I'm going to double click. So all I do is click to kind of pin that line, defining my area. And when I'm done, and I don't have to go all the way back over to the starting point, whenever I feel like that's pretty much wrapped up, I double click, it connects everything up for me, and create my area of interest. The final two steps are simply to indicate what file format I would like, shapefile or file geodatabase, and then click to extract the data. And that will create a zip file that has that shapefile or geodatabase zipped up in it, and we'll download it onto my computer. We can go through exactly the same process with all of the imagery. So let's say I'm interested in the imagery that's been posted or fairly recent. Black and white, Southern Vermont, half meter, this is the state orthos. And once again, notice that we've got external links. We also have it indicated as data, and it's important to get used to checking these thumbnails because you don't want to accidentally click on service, a layer listing for service rather than data. We'll talk about that in just a second. But this is definitely data, has right icon on it. So here's our Southern Vermont 2015 imagery. Once again, I click on the tile data download tool to indicate one tile, click download, and in case anyone's interested, no, we don't have more of a shopping cart interface where you can indicate multiple tiles. You do have one edit. And oh, and the other thing I wanted to point out is that this number right here isn't the number or name of that individual tile. So if you're familiar with the system and you know which ortho images you need, and you're just going to get the new version of that same area, that same image, it is the same tiling system that's always been used, and so this number will be the correct number if you need that to ensure that you're getting the right one. But I noticed that you can also bypass, once again, the tile data download, go to the web folder, and once again, it just gives you that list of images, and you can look for that number of an individual ortho photo right here, sort of in the middle between the VT and the date, longer for the date. If you need to, you can also go to the full index, or the index map that is going to like zoom in and see the number. If I hit my back button, go back to our tile data download and access the clip and snip tool, which is especially helpful with imagery. When imagery tiles often come together, about 4 of them in the spot that you're interested in, and rather than having to download 4, you can actually just see the imagery. In this case, we're looking at imagery from 2 different years of collection. Once again, we define our area. Pick the format, and in the case of imagery, our options are JPEG 2000, which is the default format for all of our downloadable imagery. But you also have some other options: Vermont Imagine, TIFF, and File. Show you format, you just click extract data and it will download your image onto your stream. The final option, well, the second to last actually option that I'd like to talk about in regard to how you connect to data is to connect via web service. I mentioned in the previous video there's a way to search for web services where it's search by grouping. In this case, we've got imagery services, elevation services, parcel maps, and then everything is the final version. If I know that we have parcel data service, I know that's what I want to do. Once again, search on parcels. I can look at my search results table, and I can either just look through it and look at the thumbnails to the right for the services, or I could actually, over here, the content type over on the left, I can use the tagging system to limit, filter my search results so that I only end up with links to external pages, which are going to be either tile data or service. So here's all of our 3 parcel options. One of them is a service, that's thumbnail, but it's in Web Mercator. That would be the coordinate reference. But I would actually like to go with the one that's Vermont State Leadership, with all the work I do. So I'm checking to make sure I've got the service, not parcel boundaries, not leaders. That's going to take us to a page that has a whole bunch of stuff on it. REST service page. And we're going to focus in on a few aspects of this page. I'm not going to notice that you have view in under the title of the service. And there's a few different options here. Again, I'll highlight a few of them. Arcgis Online Map Viewer. If you click on this, it's going to fire up the Arcgis Online, and it's going to pop the service right into it. Google Earth. will work the same way. It's going to open up Google Earth on your desktop and pop the KMC service, image service, right into that Google Earth. ArcMap will either, if you already have ArcMap open, it will actually just put service into that, the project that you already have open. If you don't have it open, it will actually open ArcMap for you and create a blank project and then bring that service. The final thing I want to point out here is that if you're using an open source software like QGIS, you can access the service URL by going up to the small acronym just above the service, below where it says home services. And WMS is one of the options here, and that's what I'm going to direct you towards. You just put your cursor on it and right-click and say copy link address. You can then go into an open source software like QGIS. So all I have in this project so far is town boundary. I'm going to click on this icon which says Add WMS Layer, create a new connection to the service, URL spot, paste that URL that I just copied. So this is what I just copied from the rest of the service page. Call it parcels. Okay, and I have to click next. So this is just in a particular open source software. Because there's a plus sign there, I'm a little curious. So I click on that and I say, oh yeah, look at that. There's two different data layers here. One is the parcel data status, and one is the actual parcel data. I'm also going to change the image encoding for this to PNG. I find that works best. It prevents it from having an opaque background. Add, click close. Now notice nothing happens, right? That's because this being a service is actually set up to only show at certain resolution. So I have to be zoomed in enough before it will show. So that's pretty nice that we're looking at parcel data. Let's also add in image service. Scroll down. Again, add this, add this. Oops. Next, again, I'm PG. Okay, so there's our imagery right now. It's on top of our parcel data. We will order. So both of those layers are being streamed over the internet, and that makes it a lot more convenient because I can have the whole state's worth of imagery and parcel data without having to actually download it or sync up. Those are the main ways that you're going to encounter to actually access the data at the portal. The one final thing I want to mention is that we do have this under other search options, offline data. So offline data refers to these few data products that we make available. There's 4 of them. There's actually about to be 3 temporarily because we take the LiDAR off this list while we load in the new LiDAR data that's available that we've recently received. And these four options are big piles of data, in some cases imagery, some LiDAR, that we copy onto an external drive and make available to you for a fairly minimal amount of money. And it's really just the cost of the drive and a little bit of time to copy it and the mailing. The drive. So if I was interested in this, I would click on the title. It would actually take me to the VCGI website where we have a product description, information about what's on the product, tells me the price, and I click on order here, and it will take me to our online transaction page. I have to pick which one I want, up the price, and at that point I just fill in my information and do my payment. And this will send me an email saying create a product for so-and-so and so. And the most expensive product is the all available imagery. That is whopping $107. But I think that is about all I wanted to cover today. We have talked about a number of different ways to either download or connect to the data and services that are available through the portal. And hopefully that overview gave you some insight into the process. And remember that if you have any questions, you can always contact me, Leslie Pelch, Outreach Coordinator. My name is on the front page of our website, also on the bottom of the portal. Okay, thank you everyone for participating in watching this video. I hope it was helpful.